Hello, wonderful people. Good afternoon. Salam, namaste, sat sri akal. Welcome back to the Millennium Diva show. Uh, this is the next episode with our favorite cyber diva, Ms. Deepika Singh. Okay, and we are delighted to cover one more amazing topic, which is going to be talking about the key aspects of intermediary liabilities and the know-how of the privacy bill. Okay, and the significance, its importance, and its impact that it will create. So, once again, welcome everyone to the Billion Diva show. Welcome, Deepika.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you back here.
Yes.
Lovely. So, before we start, let me quickly introduce once again our cyber diva, Ms. Deepika Singh. She's currently the co-founder of Deep Sights, a cyber intelligence and digital auditing firm, and a mentor at SOSV, an accelerator VC. She is the recipient of the fellowship from the government of Maharashtra and was deputed to the Maharashtra Cyber Police Department and the Press Department during her tenure. Ms. Singh started out as an entrepreneur in the field of mobile and web development, application development, particularly concentrating on the instant version, which is the utilization of application without installations, right? Delving deep into the data security, integrity, data reputation, she shifted towards working with the state and the federal agencies in the field of cybersecurity. And she was majorly involved in investigating cases related to digital infrastructure glitches, data breaches, monitoring the dark web activities, open source intelligence, and mitigation of zero-day vulnerability. Wow, wow, wow. She's also been a part of the drafting team for the amendment to the IT Act and the data retention bill in consultation with the stakeholders involved, which is especially focusing on intermediary liabilities. And this is what we are going to be talking about today. And she's also well versed with the data privacy law and their enforcement from a security point of view. So here we have Deepika Singh. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much.
Great. So let's jump on to the first question that
Sure.
I have for you. What is this internet intermediary liability all about?
Okay. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me here again. And I'm really happy with the myriad topics that we've covered. Now, in the previous talks, I had given various examples from the perpetrator's point of view or from the investigative point of view. Now we come towards the enforcement and the legal point of view. And particularly since we are talking about the domain of cybercrime in its definition involves a very major component of the internet space or the cyberspace. What happens here is any of the crimes committed involves three parties usually: the perpetrator, the victim, and the most important, the mediation or the intermediaries that we are talking about here. It can delve right from the social media companies to the e-wallet apps that you're using, or maybe even a static website through which the fraud may or may not be committed. Many a times what happens is in traditional crime sense, there were only two parties involved: the person who's committed the crime and the person upon whom the crime was inflicted upon. But here in cybercrime, the third component plays a very crucial role. And the liability or the responsibility that rests upon this third component is what comes under the definition of the internet intermediary liabilities. Let me start by giving you an example because that will help the viewers connect to the crux of this topic. Let's consider a grim case that a boy and a girl have fought. Maybe the boy is angry or something and tries to take a revenge from the girl. He
Okay.
goes up on Facebook, makes a fake account on fake of her, and then tries to pose as her and commits a crime. So, very clearly, making a fake account is not a crime in itself. However, here we have to see that the crime which is to be done, like a forgery has to be done, or the person has to cheat you, that comprises of a particular crime. So here, the platform over which the fake account was created is the intermediary, and the responsibility that rests with the platform to avoid such kind of a crime is the liability or the responsibility. For example, if it were a more heinous crime that somebody has uploaded very defamatory statements about you, won't the platform be liable? In the terms of service, everyone, at least the platform makers, do promise to keep safety and security. These are the words like their preamble states. I'm talking about the social media platforms or other such platforms. And they should ensure that no one would try to harm you using their technology. But that is not the case, because it is reasonably expected from all of them. Nobody can monitor thousands and thousands or even crores of messages or activities that are happening on the web, and that's why they can be absolved to a certain aspect, but they still have to be accountable to prevent this to happen. So one of the major components in the intermediary liability topics is the prevention and the curation methods as well, which we'll be talking about in the due course of this talk. But to sum it all up, the liabilities that are that the particular platforms are responsible for to avoid such kind of instances to be happen, in order to ensure the safety, security, integrity of their users, is what rests under the internet intermediary liabilities.
Fantastic. And there's you mentioned about the bill also, right? So what is
Yes.
the significance of that?
Okay, so here the Personal Data Protection Bill, that basically does not cover entirely or does not focus entirely on the intermediary liabilities. Intermediary liabilities is a factor in the same, but the Personal Data Protection Bill is here in liaison with the government, the various stakeholders that are there, in order to ensure the security of the privacy aspect of the citizens. Up until the cyberspace was introduced, which was early in the 2000s or even a few years before that, but the flux of the digital India that is upping and surging, that happened after like 2014, 2015 primarily. Before that, it was only concentrated in certain pockets. And as I mentioned earlier, the more these digital services surged, the more the crime surged. Because of that, apart from money, the second most valuable asset that was stolen is
Mhm.
data. Data of citizens, sensitive data, right from their Aadhaar card to their PAN card numbers to even their health records.
Mhm.
And there are data black markets also. Like there's this phrase of data being the new oil. It is, in fact, an understatement, because data here is far more valuable than oil. Whenever we see all of these companies which are worth X money but valued at 10x, what are they valuing at? They are valuing that how this company can use 10x of this particular data and elongate or get that particular business.
Correct.
Many times we see that only particular website or blogs are also acquired. Why do they acquire them? It's because the data sets that they come with. There is nothing tangible that we are looking at here with respect to e-commerce or something. It is just sets and sets or tables of data here. And with respect to ensuring the privacy of its consumers, the responsibility lies primarily on the government and secondly on the stakeholders as well. In order to define some no's and how's, and this was obviously taken inspiration from major incidents, first being the scandal of the Cambridge Analytica fiasco that had happened, that
Correct.
actually brought this effort into light. And we saw the Congress sitting for 4 to 5 hours interviewing Mark Zuckerberg and the other people from Google, from Microsoft, in order to understand.
Correct.
For example, one of the senators, and this video you can see very viral on YouTube as well, he asked Mark Zuckerberg, would you mind telling me who you last messaged? Or would you mind telling me where you were out for dinner last night? Mark Zuckerberg replied in the negative. But at
Correct.
that time, the senator said that this is what you are primarily doing with all our users.
All of you this.
And I only asked you one on one. You are taking on all the 235 million Americans who are on Facebook. Or let's say if you're talking about the global scale, 1.5 billion people. So the responsibility that sets with these platforms is very important to be defined under certain rules. Many a times when we are coming onto any platform, all we do is given our emails, etc., and nobody has ever read the terms of service fully. In fact, whenever a website or an app or any platform is made, the less time is given to designing the terms of service. In fact, majorly, I have seen people say, why should I even pay a lawyer? I will see a competitor's website, copy paste to
Agree.
my particular thing. So it will just control C. Control V, Control F, and Control R. That's for the replace one, in order to make it the same one. But nobody, in fact, I also do not read much. In fact, I only take care of the permissions part. I myself, because of the paucity of time and because of the lengthy jargons that are used, nobody has the time to go and read about that. But whenever, let's say, a person tries to involve them in a court case or in a legal perception, these platforms often take the support of the terms of services. That no, we had to told you, हमने तो आपको बोला था. It's like those fine prints in the mutual fund, but just packaged into a new bottle. And that is why the PDP bill is coming into force. It will take a few years for it to materialize. There will be many false positives. For example, when the GDPR came in Europe, it was making a lot of buzz. However, in the enforcement part, despite this is Britain that we are talking about, which is really fast and prompt in execution, they still took a few years to formalize. And there was a huge, let's say, hullabaloo associated that no, it is not easy to do business in Europe because of this bill. So that created a negative effect for the economy, that businesses were shying away from accessing them. So it is very important for the PDP, for the government, for various stakeholders to come together and design such a framework so that both are absorbed. For example, if there are certain guidelines for the consumers, there are guidelines for the platforms as well that absolves them of the problem that they may have fallen into if this bill was not into picture. So that is all in all about the PDP bill.
Fantastic. I think it is important because those fine prints, as you rightly said, is ignored by a lot of people, right? Many times you just put a tick, you don't even worrying whether what is written in the first place. We just proceed, because of maybe the paucity of time, or because I think it is also all about the habit that we've, as an individual, don't really understand till it comes on the head. Right?
Yes.
Then you realize, oh my goodness, wish I could have done that, right? It is like wishes were horses, everyone could have ridden them, right? So,
in fact, one of the major provisions here is to make all these paragraphs very prompt and crisp in order for the users to understand, because now even the government and other people have understood that the reason these lengthy documents are being published, that is in order to make them absolve that people should not read them. So
correct.
that is one of the reasons, and one of the major provisions has come in order to make people aware into prompt notifications of what is happening with their data.
Correct. I think it is very important. Yeah. My next question comes to you is the classification of the intermediary liabilities. Could you just throw some light on that?
Sure. So, for example, intermediary liabilities have two roles to play, as I mentioned. First is basically providing the services or the medium, and second is being accountable for what are the other activities happening on their portal. In the bill or in the provisions that are there, it is expected that no intermediaries or no other platforms will be able to regulate or monitor without actually breaking the privacy concept of their users, of a lot of activities, a million clicks that are happening, what is going to be uploaded. But on the flip side, if they do not pry upon that, if they do not regulate that, then they are entirely liable to whatever is posted on their platform. So, for example, you must have heard about the acquisition of Periscope by Twitter. One of the major features of Periscope was that it actually had a very good algorithm of checking penile imageries that were posted on the messages platforms or that were posted on the walls of people as well. There is where people realize that, yes, this is necessary for the platforms to regulate, because here the perpetrator had something in mind, and in fact, the intermediaries are considered as a party to the same. In any of the legal petitions that you see, it will be the perpetrator's name, and next the name will be YouTube India LLC or Google India LLC. Even if there is a video which any particular person has uploaded, and this has become a very common occurrence where defamatory statements, maybe a true defamation. So of course, if the fact is true, it is not defamation. But suppose if a video is uploaded on YouTube, the party is taken to be involved into YouTube and Google as well. Because Google is a parent of YouTube, then even Google is liable, even though Google has no day-to-day access to whatever is going on into YouTube's database. So these are the two particular aspects. One is the safe harbor, where the intermediary liabilities comes in support of the victim, and one is where it is directly held in responsible of facilitating that particular crime. For example, let's take a simple case of the UPI frauds, which we were talking at length in the last video. There is when if the OTP is sent and the user ensures that I can share the OTP, or the users make sure that the OTP is not shared, then if the fraud occurs, it becomes a liability of the particular platform. If the user's fault is there, then the liability of the intermediary is coming towards the user and user only. And here the platform is actually helping the user to resolve its issues. That's the same time that many of the cases that I have seen with respect to UPI frauds, I tell them not only to concur with the bank or with the police or with the RBI portals, but also the fourth head, that is the wallet through which this particular fraud happened, because they can help you reverse the same. And once they come to your side, they are on the right side of the law. So this is known as the safe harbor thing. And second is the generalist one, where they are assumed at default to be in part or in party to the crime that is happening.
Very interesting. So, how is this content regulated by Lee and other regulatories?
Yes. So, for example, particularly when the websites, the first type of content that actually started appearing were websites, then coming to the social media channels, then coming to YouTube and other such video sharing channels. Many a times, if this particular content which is reported defamatory to, let's say, the LEAs, because people have only one resource, rather two resources now. First is to report it to the platform. But once we report something to the platform, it goes to a third party. At least for some platforms, I have seen that they have third party contractors in person. And in India, it can be considered in the IT cities, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurugram, where people are sitting and actually viewing, does this fall under any category? Because even though we are at the best of the algorithms that are involved in such a space, or checking in automatically whether this can be classified into any types of data, there has to be a human touch in order to verify whether this claim is true or not. Because we cannot entirely depend on the machine learning algorithms or the classification algorithms. They can be developed in order to match a human, but they cannot replace a human.
Replace it.
Yes. And that is the reason they come to this particular notion of checking whether this particular image can be classified as a crime or not. And once it is classified, they take it down. So that is, the customer has notified the platform. That is between the customer and the platform. If that doesn't occur, then the consumer or the citizen goes to the police. The police can either issue a notice and ensure its takedown as well. That happens under Section 91A. So whenever we receive any complaints, right from privacy to at least pornographic images which are uploaded on the clear net that I'm talking about, the dark net again does not come under this purview. Once this Section 91 notice is issued, they have to take it down. In fact, with respect to the COVID arena, because many of our officers were also working from home, we have, you could read it on the papers as well, that we have issued Section 91 notices to even people in order to take down their defamatory tweets in the Twitter inbox.
Very interesting.
And once, so this is the first one, that is notice and take down. Second is only notice and waiting for them to take an action. So these are the two type of takedown steps that the LEAs and the other regulators can actually take. And in this, a lot of platforms such as right from GoDaddy, because even though the website is hosted, let's say, by a particular company, the person facilitating the website hosting is GoDaddy. So here even GoDaddy involves in the sale. And hence it is important to issue to everyone. Right now, you can see a lot of these anti-piracy software firms that are happening, and they in fact have partnered with YouTube. In fact, YouTube's anti-piracy cell actually has a clause which states and gives them the server access like a plugin, that if they have certain very important clients, they can go in and take down the video without even YouTube interfering in that. Sometimes it is used to the good. Sometimes you must have also seen these recent scams that are happening about people are posting genuine reviews And the company, in order to avoid any of these problems that are associated with negative reviews or negative perception, are employing such piracy firms to take those honest videos also down. So there is obviously a flip side, like the atom bomb. There was honestly a flip side to the positive and the negative side. But
Right.
it is important that whenever we shape this particular bill, it involves all these aspects and anomalies.
Fantastic, fantastic. Wow. Okay, so
I know
I
this is
will.
a little grim as compared to the other one, but this is a little more important because this comes in the enforcement part. And any of the conversations that we have had before do not apply if this particular picture or component is not in place.
Very interesting. I think I'm sure all of the viewers are going to definitely now understand as to when you
Yes.
report a content. It is not just that you get a message that, oh, we will review your post and we will
Hmm.
notify you. I think there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes to make sure that whatever you have reported does really make sense, and is it relevant or not relevant. And it's not just the bots that are working, right?
Very
There are
true.
humans who are working also at a lot of times to make sure that the content is given due justice,
Hmm.
uh, keeping in mind whatever it implies or whatever it is trying to convey as a message.
True, true.
Because yeah, there is always a tug of war. I have seen a lot of times when there are real life contents which are actually put down. I was
Hmm.
in a recent case, in fact, of this is which is happening with one of the education platform, and there
We can't take their name, otherwise they'll put our video also down.
absolutely. No, because that's I think, but what I have been seeing that there is a great site that is now turning up. Okay,
Yes.
and as we rightly said, we are not going to discuss about that here. Okay, so my next question to you is, in fact, this come from a startup. That is one of the members of our community. For a startup, what responsibilities is one entitled to protect the privacy of their users?
Okay. So first, with respect to when I'm talking about a startup and assuming that again there are constraints to which the platform can develop or scale. Many a times because of this, and I myself am going through that hustle, either to go in for a full stack development from scratch or take in certain plugins which are already there in the public domain and are open source. So many a times, if we chose the latter option, although it is economical and cheap, we cannot ensure what data is being listened to, because here we are taking, let's say, a plugin from another developer. All we see is the financial or the functional aspect of this particular plugin, but not what the listening component is doing. In fact, even if you check that I have installed this open source software on my server, and no, the data is not being taken, how are they able to actually give you updates that your renewal is in due? Because they are actually taking the date of your system, they are taking your activity of the system as well and
Correct.
communicating it back. So with respect to startups, you really have to start and by designing the cybersecurity framework, that has to be one that what in event if your third party that you've taken up as a partner in your software platform actually tends to or maybe malfunctions, and then what are you going to do? Because even though the mistake is theirs, it is your platform that will be accountable to the users, not in the court of law but in the court of public opinion.
Correct.
जैसे मैंने लास्ट टाइम बोला था अबाउट गूगल पे हम लोग यूज नहीं करेंगे बिकॉज गूगल पे पे सिर्फ फ्रॉड्स होते हैं. दिस इज व्हाट द एल्डर्स हैव स्टिल have the notion about because of reading such news about in the newspaper, even though Google had no such intention of doing. So
Correct.
here the startups have to design that particular framework, the policy, right from the consent management, because now it is a firm decision that the PDP bill is going to come into force, and they have to design their data models. In fact, the first and the primary provision of the PDP bill is the platforms have to actually explain to the customers what kind of data is being taken.
Taken.
They usually used to respond to them as well, but now they have to explain why it is being taken, how many times it is being taken, with whom it is being shared. So right now you must have seen there are a lot of these companies which actually have the only business of sifting data. So they acquire data from 5 6 other companies, maybe through breaches or maybe any other espionages, and they sell it to the behemoths. In fact, these are the companies which give a lot of these at-home jobs. where you can do a lot of data entry in order to have people who are sitting idly involved in their operations get their operations done at a lower rate as compared to the actual market rate, and then sell this particular data. So that is where the user needs to know the entire data flow, that what is my data being shared? Is only my age, my gender, my preferences being shared? Are my names and other such sensitive information like my picture and everything be redacted and shared? So that is the reason all the platforms which come under the B2C format initially
Mhm.
have to be open to creating such models as well. This may not be of any economic value, which can be of a productive use to the startups, but they can be an opportunity lost in case they don't do so. Because the penalties here start as high as 5 crores, end at a bracket of $150 million with respect to the Indian PDT bill. And you have seen a lot of these softwares that have come up for GDPR, especially in order to make sure that the software or the platform is GDPR compliant. So only depending on such software is not important. In your company, in your culture also, you have to inculcate certain of these practices in order to ensure that this doesn't happen.
Correct. Otherwise, I'm sure a startup, a small
Hmm.
company can definitely get into a larger problem
Yes, yes, yes.
as well, right? So,
I'll
uh,
just like to point one example here. So
yeah.
there was this video chat company in the US, and they particularly had a fantastic video streaming application that they had developed. So much so that it was giving competition to Skypes and Googles of the world. What happened is they did not read their TOCs properly, or they did not design it properly, and at least the children below 13 years of age as well also used to use that application to chat, which is not allowed according to the COPPA regulations. And once the company was bought out by a particular acquisitioner, the acquisitioner was in fact liable for every user. That is, every user meaning if I have 10,000 users, and if each user is going minimum 40 sessions, then I have 40 into 10,000 users. I have 4 lakh users here, and for each session they were liable for $16,000 worth of fine.
Oh, that's a lot of
Yes,
problem to manage.
certainly. So that is the level that I'm talking about. So even though right now we are seeing a lot of mergers happening, a lot of acquisitions happening, the first practices for mergers and acquisitions used to be to show each other your books. But now would be to share with each other the data practices that are happening. So either party is not liable to the same. In fact, this is an excellent way in order to sabotage another person's entity by slipping through your particular unkept data or uncompliant data which you have. So companies really have to be sure of the same.
I think, as you rightly said, it is also an excellent practice because somewhere down the line,
Hmm.
this is the need of the hour. Because when you are doing an acquisition of a company, if you don't have that kind of level of due diligence, I'm
Yes.
sure your acquisition investment, time, money, and energy
Hmm.
is going to really be creating a trouble for you.
Hmm.
And that is, I think, that's a great way to look at meaningful acquisitions and making
Yes.
sure that what you are looking at is not just
Hmm.
a company or a brand, but the
Correct.
value that it is creating. I think it's a fantastic way to look at. Uh, my next question, Deepika, to you is: can a platform be a party to the crime?
Yes. So, as I'd mentioned before, if the platform is not being accountable or being actually proactive enough in order to prevent from such crimes being happening, and is actually being relaxed that no, it is not my liabilities because of the users that they have done, then yes, they can be considered as a party to a crime. And even after the LEA intervening, a benefit of doubt can be given that, okay, they did not know because of the such volume of data that is being processed. But if the LEA intervenes and they still do not comprehend or they still do not respond to the same, then yes, they can be held party to the crime. Because here, the responsibility, the criminal has done its crime, but the responsibility to pull down that data in a secluded time frame depends on that platform. So when we are talking about corporate espionage cases, they are not that grim or they're not that heinous. Let's say if a girl's pornographic image is being uploaded on a social media and it is widely circulated. What if, even if in the fastest response that can happen, at least 24 hours is still needed by the platform to take down and to control the sharing of that particular material. And this is where, let's say, the algorithmic programs set in, where they actually report this kind of a data to a certain extent. And if they do not have such practices in place, then yes, they are party to the same. In fact, one of the cases or the Operation Blackface, which I have mentioned before in my profile as well, there is where NECMEC is an organization which is a consortium of AOL, Facebook, Google, and other such behemoths who have a lot of activity going on their platforms. But their algorithm is such that if any of such particular material is uploaded, at least with respect to the child sexual abuse material, and they have to automatically report it to the particular countries, because here, even though the main Facebook's servers are in America, their users are Indian at least.
Correct.
So the authorities in India need to be aware. In fact, if you read the POXO Act, that is the Prevention of Sexual Crimes Against Children, you have to see in the section 4 that even if, like, on your phone, let's keep these platforms out and let's consider you as a human being. A person sends on a WhatsApp group a particular pornographic image or something of a child that we're talking about. And if the person does not delete it, then he also is a party to the crime. That is the
Correct.
level that we are talking about. Even though the person has just received the image, the person has not shared it, he only possesses it in his phone. Even possessing that is a crime unless and until they report it. So if a person is being held to such strict responsibility, a platform also needs to be adhered to such responsibilities. And it is high time this happens, because many a times these platforms, which are also used for the good of humanity, may also be used for the bait. So it
Correct.
is very important that the platform should ensure that these steps are taken so that they appear on the respondent side. They appear on the petitioner side and not on the criminal respondent side.
Very interesting. Yeah, because I mean, it is a common practice that as a human
True.
being, you might not know the repercussions of holding on to such kind of malicious data.
Hmm.
But I think though your intention might not be
Correct.
to do this, but I think it is very important as citizens, and as humankind, to make sure that you adhere to certain best practices,
Yes.
understand the repercussions of that. And I think
Hmm.
this bill is definitely going to change a lot of things. I think the only thing that is yet to be seen is how does it percolate to each and every individual, not only in terms of understanding the bill, its I would say positives or its benefits, but also understanding about how can they be a part of it to make sure that this is going to reach to a lot of people,
People.
and also they could understand the implications if they become a party to such activities, knowingly or unknowingly, whatever it is, right? Because I still believe that the responsibility is among all of us to make sure that we understand what is right and what is wrong, and also disseminate this information as far as wide so that it creates a mass awareness. I think,
Yes.
and especially India being a 1.3 billion population, with I think 30 to 40 billion.
40 to 50 million devices that are already there here.
Exactly. And that too, the other aspect of not only these devices, but I think a large portion of these devices are in the rural spaces where, this kind of education and understanding is very, very imperative.
Hmm.
So I think if it helps us, and I'm happy, that we are covering this topic. I'm sure with this interactions we'll be at least able to if not, create an ocean, but add a drop in this ocean of
Very true.
educating the people. So this is very fabulous.
In
Delighted that.
fact, I'll end it on a lighter note. So during the US elections, you must have seen Twitter putting a lot of disclaimers to Trump's tweets. The danger sign with respect to the exclamation mark, this claim is disputed. So this
Correct.
was the first kind that you've seen so many disputed claims on one profile. Every 2 or 3 tweets daily were tagged disputable. Whenever he said that I won the election or I'm winning by many counts, that is where Twitter actually played its role because they wanted to be away from whatever activity was going on. That was a very good example, though it was very targeted. We've not seen so much of disputable activity happening on any other Twitter account. But yes, this is a start.
I think that's a great start. I think
Yes.
platforms are taking that very seriously now, and I think it is good because what I have seen is that we might not know the challenges that might come, but we do keep sharing everything on digital media, right? So
True, true.
even if we are eating, sleeping, walking, running, jogging, whatever we are doing, we have tend to become the prisoners of digital or the cyber space.
Yes.
And I remember one such meme that was shared where it shows one timeline of 2 decades back where we are actually making sure that we are joining as a family, and it clearly says we were united by telephone,
Yes.
but now we are divided by the digital media.
Media. Correct. Yes.
So I think and especially there have been a lot of cases where you unknowingly post your kids' picture, right?
Yes.
And chances are that it
Maybe
can
misused.
do
Yes.
a lot of misuse. I think there was one case that I remember where some parents had posted their kids activities,
Hmm.
and there was, I think, some incident where happened, there was a chance of a kidnap or something. I don't remember very clearly,
Mm-hmm.
but I think yes, it is true, right? We don't understand till the time it happens to us, and then that is where the awareness happens. So I
Because
think
in this particular aspect that I'm talking about, and many such cases happen, what the perpetrators do, they download that image. There are some tools such as extraction image tools which reach the metadata. Now, whenever we are clicking, the camera also has a location. Google users, Apple users can go and check in their cloud services. Whichever picture you have clicked and it has been synced with the cloud, you can see the location where it was clicked.
correct.
So this kind of metadata can be extracted by the perpetrators and can be located that, okay, this is where the child goes to school, this is where the child lives. So not only is the digital timeline being exposed, the particular map timeline also is exposed. And in fact, after this particular cases, the platforms actually had to remove these metadata before the picture was being uploaded. If you see, there's a little bit of a difference between the time of uploading the picture and actual upload, because that is where the algorithms go and extract this metadata out so that no other perpetrator can see any other hidden information from your image or a video.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it is very, very important. And I'm happy that platforms are becoming
Hmm.
more responsible, more
Yes.
responsive. When it comes to data, because ultimately what you're doing is you're not only putting risk your
Hmm.
user, but you're also putting yourself as a platform or as a company to a larger risk.
Yes.
And it might definitely cost someone his or her life
Very
at
true.
the point
Very
of
true.
time, right? So I think self-regulation, as I always say, is the best
Self
way
cyber
to
regulation in this aspect.
in this aspect. Yeah, so it is very important that you have some self cyber regulations within yourself as users. In a lot of other interviews that we have covered with Deepika, we've also spoken about being self-aware, being self-responsible, and making sure that your excitement might not become a problem for you, right? So Deepika, coming to my next question that I have. Could you please throw some insights onto the personal data protection bill in the Indian context?
Okay. So, with respect to the Indian concept, there was actually a lot of misconceptions that this is going to be as similar to, let's say, the GDPR or other such privacy norms that are existing worldwide. However, here, let's say the differentiating factors is what I'm going to point about. In GDPR, the European Union actually does not have a sovereign authority over its citizens. In India, in one of the provisions, the government or the LEAs do have a sovereign authority of actually ordering a particular set of data and being exempt from this particular privacy bill. So
Mhm.
that also, because of a lot of human rights activists and the stakeholders who need to contribute to this data, they have raised their voice that if private people or the corporate arena is liable to such rules, why not the government? So it is actually the debate that has been existing in the US, right from Uncle Sam snooping to actually the user's privacy being protected. So many a times the argument used, and in fact, I have been part of many such debates even during college time. That is, with respect to privacy versus security, is the battle that we are living here, and that is what this bill is actually trying to solve, so that it does not happen that because the government was not aware of such kind of happenings happening, the crime was committed. So I believe you must have heard about the Brahmos honey trap case that had happened. I'll
Correct.
share some light onto the same. What had happened that the military people or the people who were posted onto the sensitive Brahmos project, they were actually honey trapped by two fake Facebook accounts, which were in fact run by the Pakistani intelligence people. And even though they were posing as ladies, they were actually officers from the Pakistani intelligence trying to take out sensitive information. And after a lot of following up, like in fact 2.5 years is what they had cultivated those accounts to be, and they were actually real women, if anyone would see, and as a prima facie glance. After that is when they tried to see and sabotage this particular operation by taking in sensitive flights. But if the government had not kept tabs on the particular person's profile or activity, and of course, he was not a normal citizen, he was in fact a person from the military or the first person from the defense. So it was
Depends.
important for the government to keep tabs so that they do not fall in such a big problem. And that is why the arrests happen. So here there can be argued that why should the government be snooping, and if the companies are liable to say that I the companies have to reveal where my data has to be shared, even the governments have to. Because here I often get a particular argument, let's say whenever I used to represent that I'm representing so and so cyber security agency, which is a part of the state government. There is where people used to say, you guys do not know how to keep your own servers safe. How do you make us
Intensive.
believe that you can keep our data safe? And which is true. Because if you see the maximum number of IDs that have been compromised, let's say with the government portals, that was not only in India but also outside.
Globally.
With respect to the IDs compromised with respect to Gmail, Yahoo, or other such private operators, the ones with the government IDs are relatively higher, because of course they did not have this kind of infrastructure. They are not a for-profit organization. They're doing everything with respect to the benefit of the public in mind. So these aspects are nearly left out. So these are some of the aspects that will be covered with respect to the PDP bill. And in fact, I believe many a times they will be inviting certain consultations. So citizens can go on their website, go on the law enforcement's website. So METI is the one that is getting on the PDP bill. You can go on meti.gov.in, see the particular papers that have been put up. A lot of experts also are giving in their views. So even though the previous bills were solely and wholly taken care of by the parliament members, here because the parliament members do not have such kind of an expertise knowledge in order to decide on the good or the bane of this particular bill, that is the reasons a lot of experts are being brought in. And
Fantastic.
I'm very happy to share that particular cyber agencies also who are trying to share cyber breaches data breaches data, who may not be Indian, but they also are being brought into consideration so that they give their point of view. And that is how we shape up this culture.
Fantastic, fantastic. So it's a fabulous, I think, initiative, and I think we will see a lot of change,
Hmm.
not only from the regulatory perspective, but also from the from the organization's perspective, from the
Hmm.
platform's perspective. I think it's a welcome change, is what I see. and with increasing cyber activities, increasing cyber engagements, or I would say digital engagements, I think it would be a welcome step for a lot of people involved, a lot of parties involved as well, I would say. So wonderful, Deepika. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My
It's,
pleasure.
it's another interesting session, I would say, for
Yes.
me
And I'm very
personally.
happy we could turn this grim and boring topic into something with respect to juicy cyber talks that I'm mentioning about.
As usual, that's why I coined you as as our cyber diva, and really happy that we could do this quick interaction and make not only our users aware, but I think in general public, and I'm sure YouTube will help us.
In fact,
Reach.
you also, your platform also is an intermediary. So you have to take that into account too.
Absolutely. So are you scaring me or are you telling me?
Depends on how you perceive it.
Absolutely. I think we as a platform also have taken utmost precautions, and I think that is the reason why we decided to have this particular interaction with you. And I'm really happy and honored to have you join this show, because somewhere down the line we also believe as a social community or as a community which is trying to create a change. If we are, as I said, able to add a small drop in the ocean, I think it will definitely help, not only now, but in the near future also. And it's a great learning experience for all of us as well, right? So thank you once again on
Definitely.
behalf
Thank you
of
so
the
much.
Diva's show. Really honored. To all my viewers, one request that I would like to make to all our members: please do join Billion Divas community. Help us reach out to a larger audience, the kind of communication, the kind of content that we are able to create, so that we are able to make sure that we contribute to the overall growth of the community, overall safety of the community. And with that, thank you once again, Deepika. Really honored. Uh, Request once again, do subscribe to Billion Divas Show YouTube channel. Do share this particular show, this particular interview, and we will see you on the next interview with once again Deepika with a very interesting topic and a very imperative topic that we are. So till then, stay tuned.